Hello, welcome to the B Plus program. B Plus means be positive. Be positive is the A plus way to be. With that intention, we've been doing various programs that are meaningful for the people that are intending to look towards the future with a positive attitude, with the view that we're going to be in this new world that's going to be coming back to us, safe and sound. We're bringing all those people together into one area so that we can collectively take the energy that resides in each and every one of us to create a positive impact within ourselves so that we can go share that energy that we gather here with everyone that comes across in our lives and create that resonance that comes out because of that positive energy. With that intention, we've been doing various programs through this B Plus platform, which contains a lot of information, a lot of entertainment, a lot of things to learn together, and in a family kind of atmosphere that been resonating with many people. One of the things we also do as part of this program is to occasionally bring in a group of experts from the field of medicine, because what we are dealing with right now in this world is not something that we have seen before, something that the scientific fraternity, the medical fraternity has been challenged with. So they're used to challenges otherwise. They're used to facing many situations, many problems, and solving them with head-on collision with them, with all their expertise and might. But what we are facing right now is something that many of those experts themselves haven't seen. With that, the coronavirus pandemic that created huge challenges for us in our daily lives and creating great uncertainty for us around the world. Our work environments are not different, not the same anymore. The education mechanisms are not same anymore. Our family lives have been disrupted. And then our financial prosperity is being challenged and questioned. And our daily routines are no longer the same. With all of these things going on, the coronavirus is still spreading across the world. Close to 11 million people have been impacted so far, and taking away about more than 500,000 lives. And this is not a easy situation for humankind to face. But there are people that are dedicated to solving this for us. There are people that are that are facing this uncertainty, taking risk of their own lives, putting themselves in the line, going and fighting for us. And it's absolute pleasure for me to bring an eclectic panel together to talk about what's going on with respect to this virus. And then also today, especially, we're going to be doing something a little different than just talk about the pandemic. Before we do that, let me introduce you the panel that is here today. Hello, welcome to the B Plus platform. Namaste, good evening, good morning to all of you. To those of you that are watching on YouTube live this afternoon or this evening, we have a very profound group of doctors that are available for us today. They're going to be talking to us directly about the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, to throw some positive light on the situation, we're going to be talking about the vaccines, where we are with respect to vaccines, what's happening to the scientific community, how they're coming together, and things like that. Today, we have Dr. Parul Kaushik, who is the infectious disease HIV physician working at Collin County Hospital in Plano here. And then we have Dr. Samba Reddy, who is a professor at Texas A&M University at the Medicine College of Medicine. And then we have Dr. C. Prabhakar Reddy, who is associate professor in Nizam's Institute of Medical Sciences, NIMS, in Hyderabad. And then these are all the experts from the field of allopathy, the medicine that is commonly known. But there is another profound field of medicine that is also called Ayurveda. And Dr. Govind Narayanan, he's joining with us from Kerala. He works he's a private Ayurvedic practitioner working at a hospital in Kerala, also working with Kerala government closely that is dealing with supplying the preventive medicine in Ayurvedic field. So these experts are going to be with us for the next hour or so. And as you guys watching live on YouTube, please do chime in with your questions. Also share the link with anybody that you think would benefit from this amazing interaction that we're going to have today. So with that said, I'm going to welcome you all. You can unmute on your side and hello. Welcome. Can you guys hear me?
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So as I do as a tradition, as part of this program, every day we do this. So when we have a full team of people through these beautiful windows offering their smiles, what we do is take a second to actually clap for all the heroes that are fighting for the humanity. I mean, guys like from your profession, really. And we take this opportunity to do it for your fraternity. Let's hope their safety completely for us and clap for them. And it's really amazing thing how the doctors of this generation have risen to the challenge, and then we totally pray for their safety. So with that said, what I'm going to do is open up this today's discussion with a question about COVID-19 pandemic, where we are with respect to that, because there's been with respect to what's happening in US, things are getting worse and worse as we speak every day. And there is newfound discovery about this being now airborne, even though it's been known for some time, but nobody confirmed it. So let's talk about all that, see what is our new responsibilities are with respect to these new wisdom that we have. So with the current situation, the best person to talk about that would be Dr. Parul. Ma'am, would you give us where we are with respect to that, especially talk about the airborne situation and what is our new responsibility around that? I'm going to give you a spotlight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bhaskar for inviting me again on this panel, and it's been an honor every time. This is my third time actually, and I'm very excited. And this is definitely a very important, I think both the things that you're talking, and we'll come to the vaccine part, which is obviously very important, but the airborne part is definitely, I think has been in the media a lot. So in terms of where we are, is in the US specifically, I'll talk. It is very variable, and there are places where it's better controlled, and there are new emerging areas. And unfortunately, the place where I live in Texas, in Dallas, that's really like a hotspot right now. Unfortunately, I call it some regulations, or in fact, recently I'm seeing a lot of people even without masks, which is kind of counterintuitive because the cases are going up. So people should be more, careful. But I feel that there is some kind of complacency, which is also, leading to rise in cases. So I really hope that, there is more and more awareness and people change their attitude with this, because the cases are really going up. Texas is becoming, one of the top states to get affected in the US. And the numbers, I mean, 9,000, 11,000 every day are the cases that are coming, and even hospitalization. And, really like Dallas and Houston. So I live in Dallas. So Houston and Dallas are really severely affected, the hospitals. So I think that's not a good situation where we are. And my personal worry, which I have mentioned on the past as well, I think it's kind of up in the air about the effect of season or effect of temperature, weather on COVID-19, because we have not really seen its effect in real winter. But if we know in general that, when winter comes, fall and winter comes, flu goes up, all respiratory infections go up, and COVID-19 is a respiratory infection. So I think we have to take that into consideration. And I always, tell my patients also that, just it's very important to be vigilant now, but it is even more important to keep a close watch as we move towards fall and winter, which will be in a month or two, because it's quite possible that the cases go exponentially high, and we really have to be very cautious. Of course, if they don't, I think that would be a positive thing, but it's better to be cautious. The other part, which is airborne, I think this is what I was trying to put everything in perspective in terms of like what media is saying and what the scientific community is saying. And I know that it keeps on changing, the WHO stand and CDC stand, but I don't think medical community stand has really changed. We still do not know if it is airborne, and that is exactly what WHO and CDC is saying. They are considering it's a possibility. I think at some point, yeah, they have gone back and forth, and I think that has created a lot of confusion. But I think confirmed is not a scientific statement. It's more what is media is portraying. So I think we have to be really cautious. I was trying to, for this talk, I was trying to kind of streamline the studies which have pointed towards airborne, and you will see why this is still considered and not confirmed. So what they have found is, the ventilation system of the hospitals and some other affected areas, they have found, viruses there. So they think that that's one possibility, with the airborne, the ventilation. The other is that they have, they have done studies. There are a lot of studies on, generated aerosols, basically, which is more like lab generated aerosols. And there have been studies on like the cloud, which is more like digital studies to see how the cloud is. And in some studies they have found 3 feet, the virus can go, or 6 feet, or it can stay up to like 3 hours. And all these things have led people to believe that this could be airborne, which is a very good thought. But the reason I feel, or in fact I would say, scientific community feel that we are kind of not sure about it, is because of the practical impact of it. So it is a different thing when you say that it is airborne in labs or with the with the studies, but it's a different thing when you actually see it in the community. So in the community, when we see at the the clusters, or where the clusters of the cases are, or it's usually it's like close household contacts. It's people who have like attended parties. We don't see when people are like outdoors, like in the nature, and they are not really interacting close with other people, or keeping mask, even simple surgical mask, not even like I'm talking about N95. So that makes us question the practical point of this. So I would say that really, in terms of prevention, nothing has changed. And in fact, I was reading what CDC director has said, that if everyone would universally wear mask, any kind of mask, it doesn't have to be a 95 surgical mask, simple mask, everyone would wear, we can actually control this pandemic in the US in the next 4 weeks. The cases can go down. There are actually studies in which they have seen that there is I mean, not studies, but more like these cases that have come up, that there is like a salon person, like the salon's expert, I mean, the person who works in a salon is positive and has been using mask, doing all the precautions, prevention, and none of the clients got it, because clients are putting mask, the person is putting mask. I don't want to say that you can put mask and go everywhere and attend parties. No, because again, we know how very hard to keep it 100% and all that. So do all the precautions, preventions. I think nothing has changed, but I would say that definitely don't panic, because I strongly believe that masking, social distancing are still the and definitely hand washing, frequent hand washing are still the great practices that can, and definitely if you're sick, I think I should add that also. If you're sick or somebody's sick with symptoms, you avoid that. And why it is important to do mask and social distancing otherwise, because of the asymptomatic spread. I think that's probably an update. It has been there. We knew about asymptomatic spread for quite some time, but I think more and more studies are pointing towards more and more asymptomatic spread, or people who have no symptoms and they're still walking with positive test, if you were to test them. And there is some studies that point to 20%, and some actually point to 40%. So we don't know quite that, but I think that makes I would say that unless you really know somebody, or you have been with somebody like same household, you should assume everybody's positive and just stay safe.
Stay safe. Yeah, thank you for that. That's wonderful information. I'm going to go to Dr. Samba Reddy. Sir, tell me what you see.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Bhaskar, for inviting me. I think this is a wonderful panel discussion, and I think, I agree with Dr. Parul. I'm a scientist. I'm not any virologist. I'm a pharmacist and pharmacologist. My main focus would be to develop therapeutics, whether it's a vaccine or a pharmaceutical antiviral or an immunobooster. For that understanding, we have to go in great length about studying viruses or any disease, disease pathology, how it happens, how it spreads. So In that tone, we go into the depth and then get into the roots before developing a therapeutic strategy, whether it's a vaccine or antiviral. So I'm not a virologist, I'm a brain neuroscientist, but because of my interest to help the community, I've been following very clear. So I put forward my first article March 2nd week, and I clearly stated, based on my reasoning and the scientific information that I gained from the China studies, that it's an airborne infection. I advised in my March 20th article that everyone should wear a N95 mask, because the under electron microscope, this is a coronavirus. It's a size of 60 to 80 nanometers, less than zero point 0.1 micron. So most of the surgical masks would not be able to filter that kind of virus particles. What happens is that these virus particles, which are lodged in our lungs, mostly in the respiratory, upper and lower respiratory system, when we cough and breathe and when we sneeze and laugh, what happens is we generate aerosols. Aerosols, that means these virus particles that are still sticking to the mucus. So even if 5 virus particles sticking to the mucus comes out as one small aerosol particle, that will be a size of 0.5 micron. So 0.5 micron aerosol can float in the air for many hours. Depends on a person to person, the aerosol generation varies. How big aerosols we can generate, and then depends on the infection, the viral load of the person. How much the virus will come out into the air from the aerosol, and then that defines the physics of diffusion. How long this particle can stay in the air based on its density and particle size, and how long it can go. I mean, that's why we are following social distancing, 6 feet. But 6 feet is not really a distance that virus can, these particles can go. In a closed room, such as a theater or a restaurant or in a workplace, it can float in the air for many hours, especially in a ventilated system like ours in the United States, where we kind of breathe the same air recirculating from the ventilator system. So as a result, what is happening is, if a person infected are rapidly releasing these virus particles into the air, and the other person inhaling these aerosols, so that's how I think initially everybody believed that we should be wearing masks and practice social distancing. Unfortunately, that has not been conveyed very strongly. Somebody says it's a aerosolized infection. Somebody says it's a person to person. Somebody said it's a fomite contamination. But I think now everybody is emphasizing that it's the aerosol transmission that is responsible for the uncontrolled surge. Those countries which have followed these containment strategies from the beginning, whether it's China, for example, the South Korea, some of these countries that have vigorously enforced these social distancing and wearing masking, I think they are able to effectively contain. The people who were unable are the people who didn't follow the social distancing guidelines. They didn't believe in the mask. Putting a mask is not equivalent to, avoiding breathing air contaminated with these virus particles. First of all, you had to wear a proper mask. Even if it's a fabric mask, it should be able to filter these particles that are size of 0.5 micron, or few micron in size, that will be trapped. So N95 is the best. If N95 is not available, then you could use multi-layered cloth masks. They had to be fitted properly. You can't take it out when you're talking, when you're doing some house chore tasks, or when you're traveling. If you take it out, if you breathe, all you need is just 15 minutes. So each breath, you breathe about 15 times a minute. Each breath you breathe, all you need is 5 particles, 5 to 15. All you need is 10 minutes to get enough viral load into your lungs, and that will start multiplying in no time. So that's why people says that it's not airborne. I think virologists, many believes that virus particles, once they get into the air, they can go meters. Sometimes some of the viruses can go from east coast to west coast. Depends on the nature of the virus particles, how viable they are. So coming to this, the SARS-CoV-2, I think it's viable in the air for many hours. So viable means when someone breathes these particles, they should be able to get the infection. That's viability, not just a dead virus or an RNA particles. So I think in that tone, I think the scientific evidence is pretty strong. Only thing it's unfortunately has been politicized, and science has been not being believed in from the beginning, and that has resulted in kind of this spread, and then the lack of belief in wearing masks, and then a lot of practices, people kind of different notions. So that has resulted in inability to control the surge in countries that are heavily populated, like densely populated, including United States, in Brazil, you take, for example, in India. So they followed very good lockdown at the beginning, they contained, but now when they release the lockdown, the spread is uncontrollable right now. So they don't have N95 masks in India. I mean, you don't have even in the United States also that many, except for healthcare workers. But the density of the particles that people release into those rooms and contaminate marketplaces and all, that may be contributing quite a bit. So these social parties, for example, the funerals, and then all of those, the aerosol contamination. So finally, I think scientists have to shout at WHO last week by writing a letter and challenging the scientific validity of WHO thinking. And then they believed last week, yes, okay, now it's aerosol transmission. Now everybody has to wear masks. So it took almost 130 days for us to say, convince WHO and all the politicians and government officials. So I think it's aerosol transmission. There is no question. Now that we had a scientific information, now we should be able to follow the guidelines, and then should be able to curb better.
That's good information, sir. Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to Dr. Prabhakar Reddy to offer your perspective on that, sir. And thank you. I know you spent all your night at the hospital working on some important research work, and still showed up early in the morning. Thank you. You're still at the hospital. So really appreciate you taking time, Dr. Reddy.
So usually we are working on clinical development of the vaccine at present.
Okay.
So what is developments? So usually this happens once the vaccine has passed all the regulatory, has got all the regulatory approvals from these regulatory authorities. Like in US FDA and India, we have CDSC. So the process of vaccine development starts long before once it comes to the clinical phase. They have an exploratory phase, a preclinical stage, where they do it in various animals. They do it in small animals like mouse, rat, rabbit, and then it goes to big animals. And then once they have come to some knowledge about the safety and efficacy of, it might be any drug or vaccine. It's almost same for vaccine and drug. So once they come to a conclusion about some safety and the adverse events that the drug is going to cause or vaccine is going to cause, they apply and get an approval to do it in humans. This is a place where we come in, and we are mostly into clinical development of all the drugs and vaccines. So here, once we do it, so I need not tell much about what vaccines we are having now, what are there, what are not there. But what I'd like to say is that as many are from US, there is what we call Operation Warp Speed, where US government is fast tracking almost all the vaccines that are in development in US. But what is happening in India is very strange situation. And as all of you know, I need not tell what are the various types of vaccines. We have virus vaccines, we have viral vaccines. These virus vaccines are inactivated or weakened virus. Viral vectors, they are also being used as vaccines, like replicating, non-replicating. Then we have nucleic acids, which can be used as vaccines like DNA and RNA, and protein-based vaccines like a protein subunit of the virus or virus-like particles. These are the types of vaccines that are presently being developed for this COVID-19. So, but now what is happening? And presently, when we come to a situation, I think NEJM, which was released on 14th of this month, has something good news about Moderna. It is a mRNA virus which was developed against or to induce anti-SARS-CoV-2 immune response in all participants. And the preliminary report is very encouraging, and they're going to start phase 3 of clinical trials, where phase 1 is for safety. This completely phase 1 of clinical trials is safety, where it is done in very closed environment and very narrow group of people with less variables. When we go to phase 2, it is preliminary efficacy and again safety. And phase 3 is completely efficacy, where once we cross the phase 3, it will be approved for marketing. So this is very encouraging from Moderna, where they have come to a preliminary conclusion that it is good, or it is showing promising results in humans. Now, that's what is happening in world. Around the world, at present, we have around, as on July 9, 2020, China has developed around 1, 2, 3, 4 vaccines, which have almost completed phase 2, and some vaccines have entered phase 3. United States, we have 2 vaccines which have completed phase 2 and entered phase 3. One Novavax and Moderna. Germany has one which is again entering phase 3, completed phase 2. UK, phase 2 has been completed. One is entering phase 3. And when we come to India, we have 2 different types of vaccines that have been approved for clinical evaluation. Those vaccines are Covaxin, which is developed by Bharat Biotech. Bharat Biotech is a vaccine company, developer and manufacturer situated in Hyderabad. It has developed a vaccine which is nothing but whole viron inactivated SARS-CoV-2 vaccine. This is a whole virus which has been inactivated. So this company has got approval to conduct phase 1 clinical trials in India. Then we have another vaccine in India, Zycov-D, which is developed by Zydus Cadila, and this is a plasmid DNA vaccine. Both these vaccines have completed their preclinical development, and they have entered the clinical development. So here what is happening in clinical development is the development of vaccine usually takes long time. Let's say around 1 year to 2 years. But at the present situation, and as it is necessary for saving the humanity, the government has taken a decision to fast track everything. Fast track in the sense, not avoiding the safety, not avoiding any compromise on the subject safety, they're fast tracking all the things so that we might expect a vaccine in India, let's say first 2-3 months of 2020. That's my opinion, it's my personal opinion. So now what we have, so I am involved in development of one vaccine in India. So we have started phase 1, but starting a phase 1 is highly, it needs lots of resources, it needs lots of logistics, it needs lots of support, and to start it, it takes a lot of time. There's so many hiccups, there's so many bumps we have to cross just before we start it. So we are in that phase of starting. We have encountered not small bumps, very, very big bumps. So what is happening now is that we might start dosing vaccination next week, probably. This is the phase 1. So in India, this vaccine development will start off in 4 centers initially. Then we go for 12 centers. Then they do phase 1 and phase 2. And after completing phase 2, it might go to phase 3, or the government might give a fast-track approval based on the safety that has been established and minimum efficacy that has been at place. Once it is proven that this vaccine is very safe and it is having some promise of controlling or preventing the development of infection, there might be chances for the government to release it into the market, not waiting to see more loss of deaths or mortality or morbidity. So here what is happening in phase 1 is we are having 3 different doses of vaccine. One is small dose, then we go to the next dose, and we go to the next dose. In phase 1, we are going to start off with the smallest dose n number of people. Then we go to the next dose n number of people. Once we find these 2 doses are safe, because when we find these 2 doses are safe, we go to the next dose, and all the 3 doses will be done simultaneously for n number of people. So what here we are doing is we are following a subject to know the immunogenicity and reactivity for a period of 180 days. But here we are going to see the immunogenicity at day 28, which is the most important thing. So here the dosage is two schedules. One is day 0, other is day 14. And all the things will be analyzed at day 28. Once we analyze at day 28, we go to and we find the vaccine to be very safe. Out of the 3 doses which we have done in phase 1, we are going to take it to phase 2, select the best dose, having the safest and most efficacious dose of the vaccine, and take it for phase 2. Phase 2, we are going to increase the sample size, double or triple of what we have done in phase 3. In phase 1, we are going to do 3 doses. In phase 2, we are going to do only 1 dose. Then we find it, if this phase 2 is, we are going to confirm that the drug is, the vaccine is showing some immunogenicity. Once we come to a conclusion, we go to phase 3, which is very large population size with subjects having various more variables. Now in phase 1, we take very short, narrow variables. No hypertension, we give it only in healthy volunteers. No diabetes, no hypertension, non-smoker. All this will be removed off. We go to phase 3, we add some variables, and phase 3, it will be almost the persons who are living in the population, living population. So once we prove safety, that's the most important thing. Safety, then efficacy. So as my personal opinion, I think Indian vaccine can come up into the market in a period of maximum 8 to 9 months. That's what I wanted to share my information.
Oh,
Thank you for
sir.
the opportunity to share what I know.
Oh, that's excellent information, sir. Your wealth of knowledge on that one. There's no doubt you're directly working on in that field. So slightly, I think we switch.
Prabhakar, let's clarify one point.
Yeah.
The news going around August 15th is not true.
No, impossible.
From all of the panel, we can say to the public saying that August 15 is not the date for any vaccine.
So it came out somewhere, is it?
The world.
So it came out somewhere, is it? There was a news?
Yeah, that was a shot that was misfired.
Okay.
So many things, and it has created so many problems for everybody, for the sponsor, for the persons who are involved in the clinical development. Now, media is so highly, I don't know, they get news from NIMS before I know.
Obsessively connected to that August 15th.
Yes.
Because it is also going to be Independent Day. They are telling we are going to liberate a world from this, that. Oh, a lot of stuff.
So that's the reason why we brought this panel together, to cut that fake news going around, to get the information directly from you guys. So Dr. Samba Reddy garu, do you have, now that we switched to the topic of vaccines, so you directly work with it and research on that topic. So do you offer your perspectives on who is where in the terms of global race for these vaccines?
Yeah, I think exactly. I think, yeah, thanks, Dr. Prabhakar Reddy garu, for that nice summary from the status in India. So I think I'll share my perspective on the current race for vaccine development. On July 6th, I published an article in the Indian Express about title, a scientific race for vaccines and antiviral drugs, and I provided a pretty 3,000 word summary statement. So basically, the question that's in everybody's mind is a vaccine viable for coronavirus? I think it is, because now if you see the rate of recovery, that's nearly more than 80% of the people are recovering from this infection, and mild and moderate cases, they're able to mount the antibody production within 7 to 15 days. And even though the amount of antibody titer is small, they're able to neutralize effectively the coronavirus, and that's how they're able to survive the infection. And those people who are succumbing and getting into severe and then ICU, their antibody mounting capability is very low, because it's not that it's not the virus problem, it's a person's problem. They have a weak immunity or they have risk factors. So as a result, I think these two things were pretty confirmed. Even NIH Director Francis Collins believes in his blog on June 30th. He said, yes, vaccine is a viability, And that's why the companies are racing to use the existing viral technology. Even before this SARS-CoV-2, we have a lot of information from MERS and then earlier SARS. But I think most of the companies are racing to produce a vaccine based on the current viral information, and so they want to stimulate the humoral side of the immunity response. That is, to recognize these antibodies should be able to recognize one thing, that is the spike protein that is outside of the coronavirus. So anytime when a new virus is encountered into a virus naive person, then the immunity should be able to react to only the spike protein. So they are using spike protein as a baseline for developing all the vaccines. So as Dr. Prabhakar Reddy mentioned, they're using a variety of strategies, direct antibody production through the purified S protein, viral recombinant vectors, nanoparticle delivery of the viral RNA, and then killed or attenuated virus particles. The goal is same, use enough of these antigenic strategies to produce effective antibodies. And right now, I think there is no winner yet. So everybody is racing, and there is no coordinated effort by the companies. Everybody is producing their own antigen platform, and then they're claiming that their platform is better. So currently, nearly 116 vaccines have been in trials worldwide. And of these, I think only 3 vaccines have witnessed some success through phase 2. So in June, I think BARDA, the United States government agency, awarded a $1 billion contract to AstraZeneca to produce the corona vaccine. I think that's for the earliest promise that came from AstraZeneca. So, and then there are 2 other companies racing in the same way. So I think the Moderna's vaccine, the microRNA vaccines, again, that will induce its protein expression. And the Oxford and AstraZeneca's is a recombinant adenovirus, so that again induces its protein expression. The Johnson and Johnson's, and then and some other companies using the older methods of attenuated and then inactivated viruses. So
you said 3, right? Oxford, AstraZeneca, Johnson and Johnson,
Moderna vaccine.
Moderna. Okay.
Yeah. So these are the 3 that have completed almost phase 2 and then ready to enter phase 3. And then Moderna announced that they're going for phase 3 pivotal studies, which is the last phase in the very lengthy and complex process of vaccine development through phase 1, 2, and 3. So the pivotal trials represents the last and critical phase, and Moderna is ready to do that end of July this month. And then Oxford and AstraZeneca announced that they would go for phase 3 starting early August or maybe September. And Johnson and Johnson, I think, delayed the plans, I think, until end of September. So I think there are many hurdles to bypass through. I think the first question is, are these vaccines safe? Are these targets that they are making are able to mount enough defense, produce enough viral titer that can combat or contain the coronavirus? So there is no answer yet. So because vaccine developments, unlike, I'm a pharmacologist, I know the drug development, unlike small molecular, antiviral or immunobooster drug development, these are biologicals. These are very complex and lengthy process. Usually takes 5 to 10 years to develop a vaccine. And during this time, there is a shortcut of all the processes. Despite all that, we cannot bypass proving that it is safe and then proving that it is effective. And these are the 2 main hurdles. The first hurdle is proof of safety, because some of these strategies that we are using can go wrong, and then once we inject this biological inside, it could become a virus-like particle, and it could increase immunogenicity and then become actually infectious, or it could permanently alter a person's immunity. So that's why there's a high danger if it's not proven to be safe. So we cannot shortcut the safety angle. The second important hurdle is proof of efficacy. We should be able to demonstrate whether people who receive the vaccine, when they are challenged or when they are infected with the virus, they should be able to demonstrate lower rates of infection than the placebo. So this process is a very complex process. It needs tens of thousands of the patients who receive vaccine, and and then subsequently exposure to the virus, and the demonstration that their infection rates are very lower than the placebo. And this cannot be bypassed. You cannot develop a vaccine in 6 months or 1 year. This is a very long and complex process, from safety, efficacy, production, and all these steps. So you could speed up the production by multiple other things, but there is no bypass to for these steps. So that's why I think whatever steps, whatever the antigenic source we are taking, or we are taking from the existing strains. The problem is, how can you develop a vaccine and say that it will be viable and effective when the virus is mutating so rapidly and so rampantly, such as the coronavirus? Inherently, coronaviruses, these are RNA viruses. They are bound to mutate so frequently because they are multiplying inside our cells, and then the multiplication, the recombinant process can go wrong in any number of ways. So that's why I think the strain with which we are using to develop an antigenic source to develop a vaccine may not be an ideal one in 6 months from now, because the strain could change. So as a result, no company can guarantee that their vaccine could be effective. It's almost like a flu situation. Every year, we estimate the probabilistic, the antigen nature of the flu, and then we develop a flu vaccine, and then some of us will take flu vaccine and some of us won't, because sometimes, it doesn't matter, even it won't be 100% protective. So as a result, even the top vaccine experts are not able to give the hope that any of these vaccines are winners yet. But it doesn't mean that vaccine development is not a viability. Yes, it is viable. Question of how long it will take, that's important question. And then how long the antibodies will persist in the body of these persons exposed to the vaccine, so that that will determine how frequently we have to vaccinate. So we don't know the answers to these questions. So one, we can estimate, if effective vaccine comes in, the antibodies could persist in the body for 12 to 15 months. That is based on the relative cousins, that is SARS and MERS. So those antibodies persisted for almost 15 to 18 months. So as a result, now we're extrapolating the information from SARS and MERS, and that information may not be accurate, because the virus strain is changing, and then the infectivity rate and the severity depends on person's immunity. So as a result, we are still at the same road of the uncertainty, and that's why even the top experts are unable to give a right timeline. Everybody's saying 12 to 18 months. And then even if you take 12 to 18 months, the question is, we are a 7 billion world population. It takes such a long time to vaccinate everyone. You can't just vaccinate only a certain population and then say that we can just contain, because everyone need to be vaccinated so that there are no more carriers.
That's a related question I had. So when somebody comes up with this vaccine, the countries that have most resources are going to grab them, right? Like US and Europe, where there's a lot more money, so they will grab it, and the other parts of the world will be ignored, isn't it?
Exactly, that's a good question, because we had to do a very coordinated consortium. Like for example, anti-vaccine should be available free. Either through a consortium of governments sponsoring, producing, and then giving out to rich, poor, every community to mass vaccinate. Because this virus started from small place in Wuhan in China, and now it's impacting everyone. So we can't let any community left alone, so that we cannot afford. So this is such a pandemic that international consortium is needed. That's what scientists are advocating WHO to kind of coordinate the process. Right now, the race is that every company is trying to capitalize on their scientific expertise to produce a vaccine, thinking that somebody will buy it. But at the end, this is a humanitarian crisis rather than a pharma profiteering. So as a result, I think we had to be very vigilant when we claim the timeline, because we can't mislead people all the time. We can't develop a vaccine in 1 month or 2 months. So given the complexity. So that's one thing. A second is mass vaccination. We had to develop some practical means of delivering the vaccine to the masses, to the communities. So that needs a lot of coordinated effort by various countries and scientific organizations. So right now, I think that is not happening. Even the companies are not cooperating with each other to form large consortium to pool strengths to accelerate their efforts. Everybody is focusing on their own things. So that's what the nature of the pharma business. But nevertheless, I think take-home message is that a vaccine is viable despite the variations and strains in the virus. And then the other thing is the question of the durability is again anywhere from 6 months to 1 year or 2 years. So that means even vaccine is available, we should be able to vaccinate every year or maybe every alternate year based on the final outcomes that we get.
Excellent, sir. Thank you. And I'm going to switch to the other field of medicine. We have an expert from the field of Ayurveda, Dr. Govind Narayanan, sir. So you are working closely with Kerala government in providing some sort of preventative medicines for people that are faced with this pandemic. Please give me your perspective, and thank you for joining all the way from Kerala.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Bhaskaran, sir, for inviting me. So from let me start with the aerosol spread. I would strongly agree with Dr. Parul when she was speaking about the practical aspect of aerosol spread. See, I cannot say anything about US, but I can tell you, in a country like India, just imagine if there was an aerosol spread. If there is a real aerosol spread, like if it was just it was in the air. To think of very the communities in India like Bombay, Delhi, or Kerala. Kerala is a very, very densely populated state in India. So if there was an as such aerosol spread, I think half of India would have been affected by now. Starting from March, it's been 5 months, right? March, April, May, June, July. We are 15th July is 5 months. So if it was this as such aerosol spread, at least let's say at least about 10 crore people should have been affected by now. But as of now, from the the data that we have available from the government of India, only 10 lakh people are affected. Of that, only 3.5 lakhs are active cases. So if there was an as such aerosol spread on a practical aspect, I am not talking about the lab, environment, or are we finding it in each and every individual or that. But on a practical aspect, the spread would have been just uncontrollable. It's not that it is under total control now, but at least there is some sense of control in the spread of the disease. And in the recent studies shows even in a slum like Dharavi, it is under control. And also in the past 10 days, it is a lot more under control in a city like Delhi. So I believe in that sense, the aerosol spread has to be doubted. It is more a person-to-person spread, like Dr. Parul properly pointed out, as family to family, or people who are coming in close contact with the person affected. Otherwise, another example would have been people who have traveled with the person who has coronavirus. See, in India, there was a lot of people who came back from Middle East, especially. Middle East. So not everybody who came from Middle East, because there was a lot of people who were corona positive. But even with that, everybody who traveled with that person was not affected by the COVID virus. So I believe in that sense, only if you come in very close proximity with the affected person, the chances of getting coronavirus are high. Otherwise, it is relatively low, is what my observation is. Coming to the preventive aspect, let me first give you the official data. So Kerala government has been giving out Ayurvedic medicines in preventive aspect for people at high risk. That is, people who are in quarantine, either home quarantine or institutional quarantine. So these include people who have flown, who have come back from Middle East, from any part of the world, and also people who have come back to Kerala from other states inside India. So by the data that the government has put out in its own statement by the state COVID response cell, so last week by July 10th, 1 lakh people were given preventive medicines. Remember, these are high risk people. So of the 1 lakh people who were given medicines, only 371 were tested positive. Of 1,371 people were tested positive, and zero, absolutely no one with a proper or severe symptom. Though even of the 371, though few were, I mean, of the 371, few had very little symptoms. Most of them didn't have any major symptoms, like a fever or a respiratory difficulty and all that. So that is a very positive, how do I put it, result that we can say the Ayurvedic fraternity has been able to give. I am sure the proper the proper study will be out in at least about 15 days from now. So that should give a little more.
Are there any other states that are following the lead of Kerala, sir, on this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There is a hospital in Jaipur, hospital in Chandigarh. These are government institutions that are giving medicines to even corona positive cases in their own hospitals. So along with the allopathy support, they also get Ayurvedic medicines.
I know,
So
I think even Ayush department is supporting it.
yes, Ayush department is yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly.
It's an official government program. They have an official Ayurvedic remedies prescribed by the government of Bharat. And actually, I wanted to ask you one specific combination which is going through in the net, just for the clarification of the audience and all. Also, we are layman as far as Ayurveda is concerned. There is some specific drug. They claim it as from Charaka Samhita. What they do is they put 10 leaves of neem and 3 spoons of turmeric, boil it in a 1 liter of oil, add into 3 pellets of camphor. Camphor. The edible camphor, I mean, not normal.
Yes, clear. Yes.
And then they take 1 spoon in the morning, 1 spoon in the night, and the rest of the one out of 1 liter, rest should be used as a hand sanitizers or anything. Every day they have to prepare a fresh one for 10 days. This is what the prescription I got from a very, very reliable Ayurvedic doctor back in India. So before publicizing, I want to know whether it's a correct procedure or not.
So there is no question.
Now in my doctor's group, Dr. C. Prabhakar already knows that, but they were discussing a lot about that. That's why I wanted to know.
So there is no question on the antibacterial and antiviral effect of neem. I'm sure most of them are Indians, at least in the panel. So I'm sure there's no question on the antibacterial and antiviral effect of neem. So definitely using them as hand sanitizer is I would strongly suggest that. Regarding consuming that, I'm sure it will have effect, but there are more effective medicines to boost your immunity than this is something like a home preparation that you can make, is what I understand from what Dr. RaghuNandan sir says. So home preparation, yes, but as an Ayurvedic practitioner, how do I put it? There are more effective specific medicines. So I would strongly suggest that whoever is the person who wish to take medicines should rather consult a doctor, because like any other science, because human beings differ from one to other. So I believe if we see the patient and according to what are their needs. So if somebody has a specific who are prone, say somebody is asthmatic, so we will need a different set of medicines. So somebody who is more stouter, we will need a different set of medicine. Somebody who is very slim, we'll need a different set of medicines. So
can you throw just light of one or two home remedies for the sake of audience?
The Ayush department has brought out what is called as an Ayush Vata Churna, which can be made at home itself. So that will contain tulsi, cinnamon, ginger. Hello?
We can hear you.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Yep. You said tulsi, cinnamon, ginger?
Tulsi, cinnamon, ginger, and just give me a minute. I have it with me. and pepper. I was a little, I was not sure if pepper was there or not. Yes, pepper.
That's black pepper, is it?
Black pepper, yes.
Okay.
So that is something Ayurvedic, the Prime Minister himself has endorsed that, the Prime Minister of India. So it is called as Ayush Vata Churna. So it is, you can easily make it at home, and also it is available in market to buy as well. So it is a very simple but very, very effective remedy. Other than that, the Ayurvedic Medical Association of India, that is the Association of Doctors in India. So we have come up with a set of proper Ayurvedic medicines that will involve one kashayam. Kashayam is a decoction that people have to drink, 15 ml morning and night. And we have a choice of 2 or 3 tablets called a Sudarshanam tablet, Vilvadi Gutika, and all that. And also a powder that is used to fumigate, fumigate the home or, your office or whatever is your, it is fumigated like how you would use a sambrani. I don't know the English term of it, what you use in your homa and all that. Yeah. So that is something that we are practicing in Kerala as of now, this is called Aparajita Dhuma Churna. So Dhuma means smoke. So that was also, a scientific study was done on that. And even they claim that the 99% of bacteria was no longer found after the fumigation process.
Excellent. So that's very good, sir. So it's interesting to know that 1 lakh people, you only found, 371 were tested positive. So I wish the work that you guys are doing in the field of Ayurveda continue to be that effective as well. Is there anything going on specifically? So the one you said about so far is preventative medicine. Is there a directional or research thing going on with respect to finding cure or vaccine related thing in the field of Ayurveda?
Here it becomes a little, I don't know how to put it, a little sticky wicket, because there is always this, I don't know the right word, there's little ego problems. I don't know how to put it,
That's okay.
The Ayurvedic fraternity, modern fraternity have, there are certain, they lock horns, I believe, which is unwarranted. So when Baba Ramdev came up with coronal, it was strongly opposed by the whole community. And very recently, in another 10 days or so, we'll see Pangaja Kasturi. They are another huge Ayurvedic group based on Kerala. They are also coming up with a medicine called as Zinzibar H. But now I understand they have lost this thing to claim that it will cure. So they are also putting it in the preventive aspect. But if you allow me to give my personal opinion, I would believe these medicines that we are telling is preventive. I am sure if proper research is being carried on, definitely it will have a curative effect as well. I cannot claim all 100 people will be cured, but I would dare say that the percentage will definitely go above 90 if we give it in proper COVID cases. Just that we may have to change medicines accordingly. So if you are a person who have taken Ayurvedic medicines, there are, you can always see that Ayurvedic doctors like us, we mix medicines. So it is not like, like paracetamol will have paracetamol. So we have these combinations. So when I say Amrutottaram Kashayam or Indukantam Kashayam is very effective, according to the cases, I can add something called as a Nayopayam Kashayam that helps with the lungs. So along with this Indukandam Kashayam, I add Nayopayam Kashayam to a person who is, highly affected with an asthmatic condition. So when we make these proper combinations, in my personal opinion, again, I should say that I am sure we will definitely be able to cure it,
Okay.
in at least in larger sections of society. And as a preventive medicines, if everybody could take it, I'm sure the number of cases will go down drastically.
So how can you scale, sir, for a population like India, or if you were to reach to the world, the people that actually believe in Ayurvedic being the way to go, how do you scale?
See, the thing is, when you ask me about believing, see, it is a science. You believe it or not, the science will work, the medicines will work.
Yeah.
So the question is, as of now, of course, we cannot cater to the world, because being a very small community, very comparing to the world or even India, the production is relatively very less. So unless the government has to take initiative on production first, in acceptance, unfortunately, then comes the production and the rest of the part.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you for that, sir. That's very profound knowledge from the
Industry
field.
need to be supported by the pharmacological departments actually. Ayurveda industry don't have such a support from any pharmacy industry. They must support that.
Unfortunately, yes.
But yeah, we are not studying also. Doctors, young doctors like you must provide papers in Lancets, NCRTs, all this to bring it out actually.
The
Loud.
work is going on, sir, but there is a lot of resistance as well. So that's why I told in the beginning itself, it is a little,
It's a sticky subject. I
how do
know
you
it's,
go about it?
yeah, how do you go over it? It's
I
definitely, I
understood
mean,
that.
that's why it's interesting to bring such two profound, areas of knowledge together into one panel. That's probably, it's a daring step for me to do as well, but it's very important to hear from both perspectives to see what is going on in either world. Because
No. Always we clinical physicians are open-minded.
no,
Whichever is good for the
it's
patient,
useful.
whichever
Yeah.
is good for the patient, we will go for that.
Can I-
Only problem
Exactly,
is
sir.
with
That is the point.
only
For
problem
us,
even Parul and Samba must accept that. Prabhakar also. We
that's
will
what
go for the best of the patient. Yeah.
like, that's
But the thing is, problem is system won't allow us to do that. They won't allow us
no,
to give kashayam in
no.
IC.
Another part is the how do you say the mistake, or I would say the problem with the Ayurvedic fraternity is the research part. There are very few research going on in Ayurveda. Though I can tell you my experience. See, I'm talking about the beginning of March. Okay, so as soon as this lockdown and the pandemic came to India, so there is a family friend come patient who lives nearby. So he runs what is called as a gas agency. In India, the cooking gas is being supplied in cylinders. So he runs a gas agency. So his was an essential service. So he and his staff. So he came in the big, what do you call it? The mid March itself, and asked my father. My father is an Ayurvedic physician with experience of 42 years. So he asked me, what can you do? There was no doubt in my dad's mind. So we will give this medicine. So that is out of his experience than on research. So those medicines, that person took at least 50 to 60 bottles of medicines and distributed to himself, his family, and all of his staff. And so far, none of them have come in this thing with COVID. So the problem is this is all experience, but the real research part is not being followed in Ayurveda. That
That's true, sir.
unfortunate.
That's true. I think if we had an approach that is similar to the allopathic field, where you have, just like how Dr. Prabhakar Reddy and Dr. Samba Reddy garu were explaining how methodical their approach is, where you have certain phases of the vaccine development, you got to go through that. And phase 3 is where the deal comes out. So if you had a methodical approach like that, even in the field of Ayurvedic, I think that will lend a lot to the benefit.
In Ayurvedic, we are straight away jumping to phase 3.
That's right. That's right.
No, but another thing with Ayurveda is there is no question of safety. See, these medicines, they are not new medicines. They are medicines that are already there, and we are giving it to different cases. Something like in a cancer, to not to cure cancer, but to boost their immunity so that their associated symptoms like difficulty in digestion and such things come down when they take Ayurvedic medicines, along with something like a chemotherapy. So there is no question of safety when you come to Ayurveda. There is only question of whether it is effective or not.
Correct.
So I think that is where we have to concentrate.
We'll field some questions.
Support of that, I think I'll make a supportive comment. We learn so much from Ayurveda and then plant medicines, because when it comes to medicine, it's all evidence-based. That's what we believe in. When it works, we will believe in. Whether it's Ayurveda, allopathy, Unani, that doesn't make any difference. The evidence-based medicine is the one that we practice. In fact, actually, to his support, I say, cinchona bark extracts were proved to be effective for malaria by these people, and then that has been used for malaria. From there, we extracted quinine. Then we made chloroquine. Now we made hydroxychloroquine. So the root origin of hydroxychloroquine that's being used to prevent coronavirus right now came from Ayurveda at one time. So it's only a question of just putting into the Western people's understanding that reductionist approach And that is the one that is actually taken. For example, a lot of anti-cancer drugs, you take Taxol, you take any, for example, the potent pain medicine, morphine came from plants. So plants and Ayurvedic medicine feeded us, gave us breakthrough medicines. So that's why I think we believe in. So that belief will continue. So even whether it's coronil or any the churna that you're talking about, I'm sure some of them will prove to be good, and then we'll learn more from them when we have the data coming in. Thank you.
Excellent. So I'm going to
Thank you,
take a couple of questions from the YouTube listeners or viewers. So one, I think there are related questions. So one is how effective is favipiravir against COVID-19? And can COVID-19 completely eradicated before the end of the year or in the near future? So I'm going to type that name in the chat so you can check, because I couldn't probably pronounce it correctly. So it's FAVI, favipiravir.
I got it.
I can answer that question.
We got it.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Reddy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a inhibitor of viral RNA dependent RNA polymerase. It's one of the two antiviral drugs that have been kind of approved for emergency use in the hospital. So its earlier version that's been widely popular, the remdesivir from United States, an intravenous infusion, but now the favipiravir is an oral medication that DCGI, the Drugs Control General of India, approved a few days earlier. So it's much more convenient to use it because it's oral medication, but it's only approved for mild and moderate cases. That's a tricky thing here. It has been approved because it's one of the drugs that has been there for other viral uses. It's a Japanese company introduced this drug. So there are not many pivotal clinical trials done on favipiravir. As a result, now it has been approved under the conditions that it's only be used restricted by prescription and for mild and moderate cases. So how effective it works, we don't know. We need to wait until the data comes in. So if taken early or if taken properly, it might prevent from mild to severe transition, because it, after all, pharmacologically, it just stops the multiplication, the replication of the virus. So if it is doing that job it's intended for, I think that's going to bring out a lot of good things, that is reducing the viral load. So right now it is too early to claim how efficacious it is because there's no pivotal clinical trial.
Dr. Prabhakar Reddy, do you have any perspective on that, sir? Unmute, sir. Sir, unmute yourself, Dr. Prabhakar Reddy. You need to unmute, sir.
So all of the approvals from our regulatory agencies on compassionate grounds. So there is no drug at present which can treat the virus. So somebody says this drug is effective, or someone uses this drug on 10 patients and they say it has done very nice work on them, that it has brought them out of their condition. They're planning to go for compassionate. This thing is that they don't know the efficacy, they don't know, safety is there. The drugs are already available in the market. They don't know the efficacy, but still, when it is helping someone, there's a thought that if I take also, it will be helpful. On that basis, these drugs are being approved. That's the only reason.
That's good. So there is another question about oximeter, pulse oximeter at home.
Yeah.
Having a pulse oximeter at home, can it help identifying COVID early? That measures the oxygen.
Parul?
Yeah,
Dr. Parul?
I can answer that. Yeah. So it is good if people want to have it, especially because a lot of mild to moderate cases, you don't have to go to the hospital, and if you can avoid it, that's better. Especially, so yes, if somebody gets somebody is positive, have symptoms, we do say that it's good that you get it, and I have suggested to a lot of people. I think if somebody is totally fine and they should get it, it might be taking an extra step because you may never get positive, you may never use it. then I would say that it's better that if you're high risk, then you get it. Like, if you do have these more severe morbidities that could predispose you to having severe COVID, then you can get it. But yeah, I think it's not a necessity, but in certain cases, yeah, you can have it.
Answering straightforward, for a general public, pulse oximeter, no. For those who are in the risky zone, who are getting exposed to the cases and they're going out in the public for their jobs, not doing work from home, they're bound to get exposure. Yes, they can get it because there is something called, I don't want to scare the audience, but there is something called honeymoon hypoxemia in happy hypoxemia in COVID, which is happening in without any shortness of breath or without any symptoms. Patients saturation levels goes down to 80-85. I have seen some patients. I manage many home quarantine patients here. They are having 80-85 at home sedative.
కొన్ని బట్టలు తిరిగేస్తున్నాయి, మడతలేసిన
80,
బట్టలు.
80-85 at 80-85 goes down. So having a pulse oximeter for a risky group is good. If the general public, anybody wanted to, who asked particularly that question, wants to buy it and keep it at home, no harm.
It's not going to hurt, right? So there is
But
one
every day looking at the monitor will not help.
A couple of other questions that are related to this. So why can't a regular primary care provider can test for COVID-19? And similarly, is can we test ourselves at home for COVID-19? Is it necessary to test without symptoms? So I think Dr. Parulji, you can take these questions.
Yeah, so without symptoms, three parts. So without symptoms, can you get tested? Yes. In fact, the tests are available a lot, especially I'm talking about the US. There is a lot of availability of tests. So I don't think that one should worry about, where to get tests at this time. We had that issue in the beginning, but now, yes, you should be able to get tested. They are free of cost. I know a lot of places in Dallas that are doing it. They are walk-in, drive-through testing. The test is, and we are talking about PCR testing here. It's a little bit of a I would say tough test. It's not a very easy one, like they have to really do a deep sample. So it's better to get it done, where they are actually, they know how to do it. And I mean, there is no reason why somebody should not be able to get it done if they want to get it done. Now, having said that, yes, there are places, and I know in India, some places that are not doing, would not do for everyone and only if you have symptoms. And that is fine too. I would say the first category is, people who have symptoms or concerning symptoms should get tested, should be able to get tested. The other is any close contact. And we are doing that in the US very easily. I would say try to avoid the third category because, in medicine, and that goes for any test, if you have no symptom, if you have no contact history, there is nothing for you to worry, then, it's, to me, there is no reason for you to get tested. And let's say you are positive and you have no symptoms, you never develop symptoms. What are you going to do about this test? So in medicine, we say, get tested if you're going to have any use of it, if you're going to put any use to it. So, if, like, for example, I got, there should be, and then the other thing that I think a lot of people get confused is like, there is something called, false negativity. So you get tested, you're negative. What are you going to do now? Are you going to get tested every week to see when you become positive? So I think it is important to just focus on people who have symptoms and people who have close contact. Also, I think, it's kind of debatable, but there are places who are doing for like high risk, individuals or, in high risk setting like hospitals. So I think that would be fine too. But I think that becomes a question how many times you would test. Temperature checks is what usually most of the people are doing.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that.
Adding on to that, why the primary care physician is not doing the test? Very simple is resources not available many of the countries. The second point is to doing at home, as Dr. Parul says, no to any testing at home. And the third point, the viewer was asking about how effective I think third point, the second question was, is it available everywhere? Isn't it? That says that.
Can you get tested if you don't have symptoms?
Yeah.
I think that was the third question.
Is it necessary to test without symptoms?
No, the second part of the question.
Second is, can
that
we do it at
only.
home? And third one is primary care physician.
Yeah, primary care physicians, as Dr. Parul is telling, it's a very skillful art to take the sample first, and the resources are not available. So better not to go to everyone who is not exposed to this virus at all, and who don't know the technique of taking out the samples and all. False positives will come, or false negative may also come out. So better not to go there. Go to a specified anywhere. Go to a specified and approved centers and get it done. And at home, never you try that. At home, only thing you can screen is the temperature, nothing more
Dr.
than that.
Dr.
Yeah.
Sharmila, who
Just
just joined to listen in, she has a question. Dr.
I just
Sharmila,
want to add something, Dr. Raghu, here, because I missed that point about the primary care. So just want to add, in the US, actually, we are, in the US, there are primary care physicians who are doing the test. But again, not everybody is doing. So whoever is doing, I mean, I think it kind of varies from country and from places. So there are some places that are doing. I think it depends on the availability. So, not everybody has it available. Not everybody has the resources like PPE. So I think it kind of varies. So one may want to check in their local area what are the places that they can get tested.
great. So I think there was one other question.
Dr. Shamila was asking question, you told?
He raised a hand. So.
Yeah. Bhaskar garu, can I?
Sure, yeah. Please.
No, it's not about the question. Like I was there almost right from the beginning. So this thing about pulse oximeter, buying the pulse oximeter, and the other question right now. First about the pulse oximeter, how we are using it here is, I almost have about 20 COVID positive children following up with me. So these children, we almost like, I think only about 2 are symptomatic. The rest of are asymptomatic, and they got detected because their parents turned positive, and then as a contact, they were all tested. So almost all of them, there are at least 4 or 5 who are totally out of the monitoring because they have recovered. They've turned RT-PCR negative. So literally every single child we have been following up only with the help of their pulse oximeter at home. So for people who test positive, particularly for children, almost all of them are being monitored just with a simple pulse oximeter and a thermometer at home. So it does have a lot of importance in managing COVID at the moment for children in India. And the rest, and the other thing that I wanted to point out is why why is it that people go in and buy the pulse oximeters? I'll tell you my own personal experience. So it is like this. The moment they said hydroxychloroquine is effective, my mother, who has SLE, couldn't get her HCQs because there was a mad rush. It was sold out.
To go get it, yeah.
So I had to go through my own thing and then get her for 3 months because she cannot be off HCQs. A similar thing, people are in a panic. What if pulse oximeters are not available when we need it? We will have to, you cannot go and stay in the hospital for monitoring because even moderately severe COVID these days, they're finding it difficult to get a hospital bed in the private sector. And people, are very reluctant.
Yeah, very valid
public
point.
sector.
So I had one other question related to the field of vaccines. So there is talk about
just a second, sir. Bhaskar, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So the same goes for the testing also. So when a person who has absolutely no symptoms goes to get tested, at least maybe US
about
is
this
different, but
testing
even
also,
in India, see, there is a chance a deserving person doesn't get their test done. So that is also something that our people have to
about the testing I wanted to put in this. Asymptomatic children or adults, they don't usually need to be tested. This doesn't apply for the healthcare workers because you are the ones, if suppose you're positive, you need to quarantine yourself or else you are spreading it to many people around. This is what is happening in our hospital too. In fact, not every hospital still, and not every patient still is following the audits. Like I work in a setup where we do, it's a mother-child setup, Apollo Cradle. So for mothers who are asymptomatic also, we are insisting on getting tested if it's an elective cesarean or someone like they have an EDD, what we call estimated date of delivery, about a week later, we are, I mean, where when she might set into labor, we are saying that you better get tested. The reason being, I'll tell you, that one of these mothers who came in and delivered and went tested positive. She developed symptoms later. She tested positive. By the time she obviously has exposed the entire hospital staff, and through the hospital staff, she'll be exposing all the patients who are coming in later. I might be asymptomatically positive, and then what is the threat that I pose? It's an obvious thing. I'm a healthcare worker. I might be transmitting it to someone else, even if everyone around is wearing a mask. So right now, what we are insisting is that these patient, I mean, you can't call them patients because it's the normal physiology. Those moms who are coming down to deliver, we are asking them initially when we had this dearth of testing and when there is no free access to testing in the private sector, we would do the indirect things like the D dimers and ferritin and CBP and a simple CRP. And whoever is having a raised CRP, we would then ask them to go in for a testing.
I have a question related to vaccines. Thank you for that, Dr. Sharmila.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I have a question around vaccine-related therapy. So there is talk about plasma therapy.
Yes.
I was listening to Dr. Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks this morning. He was giving an interview about that his plasma was extracted, so it can be used in other patients. So I want to hear from Dr. Samba Reddy to see if you've got any views on that, sir, see what's going on with respect to plasma therapy.
Yeah, I think plasma therapy is not a new therapy. I mean, it's been used in every viral untreatable conditions. You know, you extract plasma from a recovered patient and give it to a new patient so that all the protective antibodies are effectively transferred. So the question is, I think we don't have that many plasma donors, and then the studies, because you can't, it's not a very simple science.
So who is a qualified plasma donor, sir?
I mean, somebody who went through this infection, positive case, recovered completely, and then now tested at least 2 PCR negative, and at least should have some antibody titers. So there's a lot of screening involved, and then you have to match the blood group and the R factor too. So it's a lot of screening that takes place. But even if you meet all the screening criteria, so there are very few donors that that you can pool, because typically you need one donor can cover up to 4 patients. You know, if you give nearly 800 ml of plasma, 200 ml to each, so four patients. So a lot of standardization needed, because it's not simple. It's like a drug, for example, you know the concentration of the drug and how much to give based on the body weight and the infection severity. But in the case of plasma treatment, there is no standardization. That's a problem here. So it's all empirical treatment. You take the plasma and then give. So the empirical treatment sometime is a problem here. You cannot do the experiment again and again. So that's why I think they are trying to standardize, like how much antibody titer is coming from the donor. So how much the patient might need based on the severity. So, and then at what frequency to be given. So all of those factors need to be tightly controlled. That means we call SOP, Standard Operating Protocol. And once that is done, then it will become a large scale. Right now, it has been restricted to very limited cases in a very severely patients who are on the ventilator or who are unable to recover from the infection despite 3 to 4, 5 weeks of hospitalization. So it works. I mean, it's a pretty known immunological science. So only question is that the donors is a problem, the lack of standardization is another problem, and then of course, you know, any immunologist can tell you could be some cross reactivity, because you know, unless you match properly. So it's a science that's well known from previous infections.
Okay, that's great. So thank you.
Putting it in simple way, plasma therapy is for highly selective cases, very severe cases, and basing on the institute which is available with the facilities. It is not for discussion in the public for that at all, because anyone at the ICU level, we'll discuss the plasma therapy, not in the public. But for the public, plasma therapy is not the choice.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I have one general question. I think we have spent good enough time to talk about various aspects of what's going on in the world of vaccines. There was a a side question: which companies do you recommend for us to buy their stock? Which is like an investment kind of question. I said this is not an investment advisory panel, but you can make your educated guess.
And I think all of us are poor in that. I
Exactly.
can assure
So
you. I don't know about. I can assure you, no doctor knows more about stocks.
exactly. So you can make your own educated guess on which of these companies are going to race first to the vaccine to the vaccine end game. But like Dr. Samba Reddy was saying, everybody have to collaborate. At the end of it, it's not pharma profiteering. It's farmers coming together on a humanitarian basis that is going to save the humanity. If even if one person comes up ahead in the race,
I
they
just
still
want to
have
ask
to.
one
Yeah.
question about this stage of RNA vaccine 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3 mRNA 1, 2, 3 something they named in America. No, what phase it is now in Samba?
Moderna is getting 3.
Phase
Yeah.
three. It's just entering phase 3 right now.
3.
Phase 3. That's
3.
great.
Yeah. They
Because
just
I
got to
missed
phase
your
3.
talk actually.
Yeah,
Phase 3 is good.
Just government
I will just let all the viewers know that the Oxford University is in the topmost race. They are in the phase 4 now. American vaccine is in phase 3. And both of these companies, whoever coming out with the vaccine, are indigenously linked with the Indian producers. Because without Indian production being involved, it's very difficult for any
Difficult to
part of
meet
the
the
world.
scale. Yeah.
Because
Very difficult.
70% of vaccines supplied to UNICEF are made by India.
Yeah.
So I can say this with the confidence from the UNICEF. So they need manufacturers from India. They are in link with them, and even the indigenous vaccines, what Dr. Prabhakar Reddy is talking about, and another one, are in the phase 1. So
Correct.
anything is only not before 2021. It's not possible.
So we'll conclude with one final question. Sir, Dr. Govind, sir, go ahead.
Vaccines, I believe, as an Ayurvedic physician and an Indian, more than important, or I mean, more important than medicine and anything is our own mind. It is very important that the public stay positive, stay, with the confidence that they will not get. When I say be confident, I don't mean, be, don't take
Yes.
precautions. I mean, don't be scared. Don't be, like, oh my God, will I get it? Those kind of, being scared. I think you're inviting the virus. So I would say stay positive. Have a positive outlook. We will definitely come out of this. So keeping the mind healthy. So so taking yoga, pranayam is equally important. I just want to make that point. Thank you.
That's awesome, sir. I think that's probably.
Can I just make one comment about that? Because I think a lot of listeners would be listening, and what I see in clinical medicine and something that is my always worry whenever a big news comes in the media and like bold letters. So I just want to mention this because I really appreciate Professor Samba Reddy went over in so much detail about the basic science and the studies, but I want to emphasize something that the WHO, and why it is important is because I know people panic, and I see that all the time with my patients. So I'm telling the clinical aspect. So WHO has slightly changed its stance, but it has not confirmed. It is considering. And why this is important is because people should not panic. They should continue doing the same thing. And if they were not doing it, which is basically social distancing, masking, they should do it, but not panic. Because I see people saying, my patients saying, oh, I can't go on a walk now because it's airborne. No, do what you are doing, but just avoid crowded places, avoid wear mask, stay safe. Not everybody can get N95. In the clinics, we are wearing surgical mask with a shield for non-COVID patients. For COVID patients, we are wearing N95. And that's pretty much the protocol in majority of the US and I'm sure in India as well. So, and it's working fine. So I definitely there are a lot of studies and we need to listen to them. We definitely, it's important to even, it may come out, that there is some practical aspect of it, but I think at this point, definitely don't panic and just do the right thing.
So awesome.
My closing comments about, I
Yeah.
100% say correct with Narayanan. The psychological effect of COVID is much more than the physical effect, because 90% of cases are milder cases. It doesn't mean that you be mild. You be aggressive in your protective measures. Be aggressive in your protective measures. The numbers are there always. They are there for us to research, for us to study. The numbers are there, millions, billions, whatever it is. And that is why it is called pandemic. It's not a normal flu case. Because it is a pandemic, numbers are going up. Don't read into that much. It's our physician's job to read much into that. The questions even asked in the viewers shows the tension they are in. They say that, can we test at home? Can we test the asymptomatic? All this is no. Just as Dr. Parul and everyone is emphasizing, right now the perfect vaccine is your own behavior. Social distancing, masking, and hand hygiene. These three are, how long it will go on, no panel can say in the world at this time. One question was there, when are we going to end it by this year? The way I am looking at in the clinical cases, I mean, herd immunity started, my personal opinion, this is not any research work or anything. Herd immunity started in the community already. I feel that by the year of ending or November, the milder cases will be more and severe cases will be less, and it will be treated like a normal flu cases. I'm telling you.
So let me hear.
So the most positive note is we are on the upcoming levels in the, as far as herd immunity is concerned and community immunity is concerned. Vaccines 2021. So stay safe by following all our first level talk. The same stays now also. Social distancing, masking, and hand hygiene. And all the treatment parts, please leave to us. We are there to take care of you. Any symptoms, all the panel is available to you guys. You can call us and take the advice.
At home, try to do yoga. I strongly, as an Ayurvedic physician, I strongly insist, please try to do yoga, and if possible, meditation and pranayama. I strongly insist.
Breathing exercises are excellent. Do that.
Awesome.
And that's it.
So Dr. Prabhakar Reddy, your closing comments, sir. What do we need to do as common men to help the vaccine to come to the door quickly? You need to unmute, yeah.
Nothing as a common man. Just pray to God, it comes as early as possible.
Thank you. We'll do that. We'll definitely do that. If you have any closing remarks to give us, then we can.
All the best to Samba Reddy and Prabhakar Reddy who are working on that and bring out the vaccine for the humanity.
So keep working hard. So let's also do the same thing at the end of the session. Thank you all for dedicating your valuable 90 minutes to come and speak to all of us today. You all are wealth of knowledge, and you are directly dealing with this pandemic with your both hands and serving the humanity a great deal. Thank you for what you do. And it's not, you guys are representing almost millions of such doctors across the world. So I sincerely thank. Let's all clap for your fraternity to be safe and sound and healthy.
Thank you.
And then thank you again for coming to the B+ Doctors panel to enlighten all of our listeners with your information that's accurate, that's directly from your own experiences. It's not some fake forward. So this is information that people can trust on. So if you can share this and spread this wealth of knowledge, that'll be wonderful. Justice to their time for coming and spending this valuable time with us. Thank you. With that, we will conclude today's session, and we will continue on some other B+ program tomorrow. Thank you again for watching, and thank you all for the enlightened panel to come and be here today. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Bhaskar. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.